What is going on, y'all? I got to say, technology is not my friend today, as has been the case for a while now. But welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing here on the SHR Media Network, where we stand firm in truth, faith, family, and freedom. Today is Tuesday, August 5th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And this show is for those of us who fear God, love our country, and never back down from a fight, because the battle that we're in right now is not just political, but it is spiritual. So we have truth to expose, narratives to crush, and the fight for faith, family, and freedom never takes a day off. We have the wokies melting down. We have the American Pravda lying through its teeth, and patriot warriors like you and me are stepping up all across the country. We're getting into all of it and then some. So make sure you're following Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want to wear the fight, please go ahead and grab your gear at missionreadymen.com. All right, we have business out of the way. So let's get after it. I wanted to talk about the well, as you can tell from the title of this episode, Islamic extremism and leftism, same gods, different gods, same enemy, which is you. Hamas has released a hostage video of Eviatar David, who is shown in the video being emaciated and severely malnourished. And in the video, it is shown he's shown digging a grave that he describes as the grave he believes he's going to be buried in, and he's also marking days on a calendar. He's been in captivity by Hamas now for nearly 2 years, 670 days or something like that. He was taken on October 7th, 2023. And the reaction from the international community has been troubling at best. Obviously, we have Israeli officials who are demanding that the hostages be released. Some Western media outlets are condemning Hamas, but largely it's silent. And the left, a lot of the left, and even some I guess you would say evangelical Christians who are misguided are condemning Israel in this fight as well. But they're not saying anything about what's happening with Hamas, and they're not saying anything about the hostages that are still being held. It's really disheartening. But and I'm not going to show the video of Eviatar David. It's readily available. I do have a link to it in the description, so you can see it for yourself. I'm not going to play it. It's what you'd expect. I mean, we've seen these types of videos before from them, and I'm just not going to play it. But the video itself, the release of the video itself, is part of a propaganda campaign by Hamas. They want to demoralize Israel. They want to demoralize Israelis, and put pressure on Western governments to in turn put pressure on Israel to capitulate to their demands. But these hostages, they're political prisoners being tortured, denied access to food, water, given just enough to stay alive for as long as they're useful, I guess, to Hamas. Hamas, and you know what? It's not just the hostages, but it's also the Palestinian civilians who are suffering under the thumb of this regime. They're diverting aid. There's also videos of them celebrating as they're opening up the humanitarian aid packages that they stole, that they hijacked. And all this is doing is prolonging the conflict, which is what they want. I mean, let's be clear. They want to prolong this conflict. And it's in their charter, it's in their DNA. It's what they've been taught from the beginning. They hate Israel. They hate the United States. And they have said repeatedly for decades in varying iterations with Hamas and the Palestinian Authority and all the other Islamic extremists that have been aggressing towards Israel and the United States. They said they will never lay down their arms unless full Palestinian sovereignty is granted, which they define as pre-1967 borders, which encompasses a lot of Israel and the city of Jerusalem. They have no intention of releasing these hostages unless somehow it can benefit them in some degree. And who knows what they consider their benefit aside from wiping Israel off the map and the United States off the map. 49 hostages remain in Gaza. And the families of people have little to no information about them. Eviar David's family has this video, and I'm sure that they are just heartbroken as to his condition, because if you look at pictures of him before, on the day he was taken and before he was taken, he looked like a healthy young man. And now he is skin and bones. It's sad. And I don't see how any ceasefire, permanent ceasefire or resolution can take place under these conditions. And we had the UK and France and Canada talk about recognizing Palestine and a two-state solution. In order for there to be a two-state solution, the two governments have to be willing to recognize each other's right to exist. And as we've established many times, Hamas, radical Islam, does not recognize Israel's right to exist. Their goal, their entire goal, is to wipe Israel off the map and then set their sights on the United States. And of course, with Iran, they're trying to, they want to do both at the same time. Let's not kid ourselves. And so they have to recognize each other's right to exist, and they have to want peace. Radical Islam does not want peace. If they wanted peace, they never would have engaged in those horrific acts on October 7th, 2023. Would they? Of course not. So they deny Israel's right to exist. They commit these war crimes. They have rejected every permanent diplomatic solution that Israel has ever proposed, going all the way back to when this conflict started. They have rejected every single proposal. Israel offered a two-state solution at one point, and they turned it down. A two-state solution under these conditions, if Hamas was to accept such a thing, which we know they're not going to, would be handing territory, handing a government, handing everything attendant to that to an unrepented terrorist regime. They would be another state sponsor of terror. You think if they actually got a two-state solution, you think if they actually were recognized as a country and they actually formed a government, that they would all of a sudden just stop trying to kill Israelis, that they would stop invading Israel, that they would stop their terrorist activities? Of course not. Of course not. And to think that they would is just a level of naivete that I can't even begin to fathom. Peace cannot be made with an organization that uses civilians as human shields. It just can't. And the international community, the UK, France, Canada, they can't see Hamas as a political partner on the global stage. They just can't. And I admit pursuing peace is a laudable goal. Absolutely. Everybody wants peace. But peace without truth, peace without justice is just appeasement. There is no path to coexistence. There's no path to coexistence until they release the hostages and Hamas disarms, neither of which they are inclined to do. Which is why their way of life is completely incompatible with Western civilization, and we should stop trying to make it so. We're going to get into a little bit more of that later, I think. Actually, no, we're going to get into it right now because there's more evidence that Islam is completely incompatible with Western civilization and Western values. Because in Lacey, Washington, a father was caught on camera choking out his daughter in front of her school. That would at the very least be assault. I say it's attempted murder. But apparently it's just a cultural misunderstanding. These Muslim parents in Washington have been acquitted of attempted murder in spite of the video that shows the brutal attack. It's unfathomable to me. I don't get it. But this is what happens when Western courts bows to the sensitivities of ridiculous, brutal culture over the rule of law. So on October 2024, in Lacey, Washington, a 17-year-old Muslim girl ran away because she believed that her parents were sending her to Iraq to marry an older guy in an arranged marriage. And so her father caught up with her and started choking her in front of the school. And I think I do have some of that video available because actually I don't have that video available, but it's brutal. He's choking her out, and actually no, yeah, I do have that video. So let's well, I have one of them. There are a few, but let's take a look at this one because this is just illustrative of the idea that Islam is just completely, wholly incompatible with the West. And I know we had some issues last time with audio. I hope you can hear what we're about to hear, but take a look at. That's the father right there choking out the daughter. And all credit to these kids for trying to stop this, because this is a grown man that they're trying to stop from beating up their friend. And this guy in the orange vest, he's a bus driver who saw this happen, and he steps in. But this is, and they thought she was dead. They thought he succeeded in his plan to honor kill his daughter for defying him. Just sick. These people, this culture is completely incompatible with our way of life. And so they rescue this girl from this brutal attack. Her mother held her down in violation of a protective order, and so both parents were arrested, and the DA filed attempted murder charges, as is, I believe, appropriate. The trial concluded on January 31st, just a few days ago, and they were found not guilty. They were found not guilty of second-degree attempted murder. Now, the father, he was convicted of second-degree assault and unlawful imprisonment, but and the mother was convicted of violating a no-contact order. But the sentencing is scheduled for 2 weeks down the road, I believe August 18th. He's going to face a maximum of 2 years. A maximum of 2 years for trying to kill his daughter. And what I don't understand, what I really don't understand, is that the prosecution didn't hone in on the honor killing motive. I don't understand that. So the jury never heard that context. They probably, I'm sure they inferred it. I'm sure they could figure it out. But if that had been an ideological or a religious issue in any other context or any other religion, what do you think the charges would have been, and what do you think the prosecution would have done with that? Suppose some Orthodox Christian in some misguided sense of honor, tried to do the same thing. Tried to marry his daughter off. She refused, and he tried to choke her to death. They would have been all over that. And you know they would have been. You know they would have been. Because when it comes to Christianity, any chance they get to paint Christians in a negative light, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And I guarantee you that in that context, that family would have been found guilty and they would have been sentenced to the full ride. But in this case, the courts excluded the excluded motive that would have gone to his intent. But now he's going to be free because the chances are he's not going to get any more jail time than what he's already served. And who knows if he fathers another child, or if we don't know if they have other children. Who knows that he's not going to do the same thing again? This is not protecting diversity, dreaded air quotes. This was enabling brutality. This was enabling a brutal religion to enact their Sharia law on this soil. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we allow it to happen. So if a father chokes his daughter unconscious, as this guy did, because she refuses to marry who he tells her to marry, that's not discipline. That's attempted murder. It's attempted murder. And if the law doesn't call it that, what are we doing? What are we doing? And this isn't like a mainstream media case. I came across this completely by accident. And as I said before, if the roles were reversed, if the religion was different, this would have been a nationwide story. This would have been all over the news. Justice is not something that requires a cultural translation. If your beliefs, if your religion tells you to strangle your daughter because she doesn't do something you want her to do, whatever it may be, America is not your sanctuary. Prison should be. And this guy is probably not going to see much prison time, unfortunately. And of course, the mother, she's not going to see any either. And she wants her daughter to come home. I don't see that happening. At least I hope that doesn't happen. All right. I want to talk about something going on in my former state. Texas Republicans have proposed a new congressional map. And the Democrats in the state were so incensed, so offended that they fled the state. Because gerrymandering, I guess, is only evil when Republicans do it. But when blue states basically erase every Republican district from the map, that's just representation or something, I guess. I don't know. But Republicans proposed a new congressional map mid-decade, which it's only supposed to happen after the census, but it does happen mid-decade. It's happened numerous times before. But they proposed this new congressional map, which could potentially give 5 seats to the Republicans. And this was the result prompted by a letter from the DOJ saying that 4 Democrat-held districts were unconstitutional racial gerrymanders. And Greg Abbott said, "Okay, let's fix it," and called a special session. And of course, Democrats lost their minds. Not because it was unfair. No. Not because it was unfair, but because it would cost them power if it were to be fixed. I want to I want to take a look at Jasmine Crockett and Pearson. She goes up against Katrina Pearson in a hearing, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well, and I lost a place on this. This was a long hearing, and all right, let's. I think we got it right here. Nope, wrong one. But Katrina Pearson, I don't know if you remember who she is. She was an operative for President Trump, and she's very smart. She's accomplished, and she is now in the Texas legislature. And let's check this out. Well, you weren't clear because you're not smart enough to be clear. But let's continue. So what are we even talking about? What are we even talking about? It, it gets better. she's completely contradicting herself, because this whole thing hinges on the fact that she could possibly lose her seat. And because she can possibly lose her seat, she's all up in arms. And apparently, I'm getting word that you can't hear anything, which is going to make the rest of this show, uh, well, we'll figure it out. But anyway, the Democrats and Jasmine Ratchet, um, they're calling this, well, they originally called this gerrymander unconstitutional, and now, because when it was changed, they were complaining about it, saying that it was an issue. And when the DOJ stepped in and brought that to the attention of Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature, they said, okay, fine. And now that they said, okay, fine, it's racist. I mean, the only thing consistent about the left is their inconsistency, is their hypocrisy. It's astonishing, really. I mean, they are truly committed to holding on to their power at by any means necessary. And as I said before, it only seems to be a problem when Republicans do it. But in Massachusetts, there are 9 congressional seats, all 9 of them held by Democrats. In Connecticut, there are 5, all 5 of them held by Democrats. In Maryland, there's 8, 7 of them held by Democrats. In Illinois, there are 17, 14 of them are held by Democrats. And they just redrew their map in 2022 to completely eliminate GOP districts. And in California, the Mac Daddy of them all, 52 seats, 43 of them are held by Democrats. And in response to what they're doing in Texas, my former state, in response to what they're doing in Texas, Newsom wants to completely scrap their current map and redo it again to compensate for the potential loss of the 5 seats that could happen in Texas. The bluest of the blue gerrymanders, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland, Illinois, and California. No one said a word. Republicans have paid lip service to it here and there, but they never did anything concrete about it. And the American Pravda, of course, the Biden DOJ never did anything about it. It's yeah, it's really remarkable what they're doing. And in response to this vote that they were going to have yesterday, 57. Well, I've seen conflicting reports. Some say 51, some say 57, but there are 62 House Democrats, and over 50 of them fled the state to break quorum. There's 150 House seats, and you need 100 of them in the state of Texas for a quorum in order to hold votes and things of that nature. And at least 51 of them left the state, which means they broke quorum, and so nothing could be done. They went to Chicago, New York, Massachusetts, anywhere they could where that would put them out of the reach of the Texas authorities. So they successfully blocked the redistricting bill for now. And they are subject now to civil arrest warrants if a court issues those arrest warrants. There are reports that Governor Abbott and the House Speaker issued the arrest warrants. They can't, as much as I would like to see it, they can't do it. It has to go through a court. So if Texas authorities were to come across them, they can be detained, and they are going to face $500 a day fines, which that could be a problem for them because they don't get paid much. They get paid $7,500 a year to sit in the legislature. It's not something they can make a career of unless they parlay it into a national seat. So that could wipe out their entire salary. And well, let's take a look at, because Governor Abbott put out a statement about this, and let's take a look at that. Governor Abbott put out a statement basically saying that if they fundraise, and there are reports that they are fundraising on to compensate for this fine, and if they do that, they could be committing a felony, which would allow the Texas Rangers to pursue them across state lines. But let's take a look at this. This is Governor Abbott's statement on the quorum break. And down here, many absentee Democrats are soliciting funds to evade fines they will incur under House rules. Any Democrat who solicits, accepts, or agrees to accept such funds to assist in the violation of legislative duties or for purposes of skipping a vote may have violated bribery laws. And he lists the Texas Penal Code. The same could be true for any other person who offers, confers, or agrees to confer such funds to fleeing Democrat House members. So, yeah, there's that. This is one of Governor Abbott's finer moments. I have not been a fan of his for a while, but this could go a long way to burnishing his reputation and getting him back in a lot of conservatives' good graces if he can pull this off. And of course, it's going to depend on on what the courts say, if the courts uphold it. But if he at least attempts this, that is going to be that's going to go a long way to burnishing his rep. I really hope that they can get this done, because again, it's the Democrats' inconsistency. They said the maps were unconstitutional. The DOJ agreed. Republicans said, okay, we'll fix it. And now they're running away and saying that it's racist to try to fix what they wanted fixed in the beginning. But this is winning. This is what winning looks like. Exposing their tactics, using their own arguments against them, and beating them at their own game. When they redraw the map, it's strategy, but when Republicans do it, it's fascism or something. It's really remarkable. The mental gymnastics they go through. Really, really remarkable. All right, I ran way over. I want to get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor today is Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is a America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And now more than ever, as we talk about every time we're together, your votes just aren't enough. You need to make sure that your money goes to companies that fight for what you believe in. That's why we switched to Patriot Mobile. They don't just talk about the values that they support, they back up their talk. A portion of every dollar that you spend with them goes to pro-life, pro-family, and pro-freedom organizations. So right now, you can get a free month of service when you go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call and text you make every month. Switch to patriotmobile.com today. patriotmobile.com/Jackson. Visit patriotmobile.com today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, which means he will be on tonight. He'll be on tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Please like and subscribe and share all of these great shows, this great content. We are at 593 subscribers. We're 7 away from 600. So please like and subscribe, share this with everyone that you know, so that we can spread the word, and pray for us that we have a huge breakthrough, that we hit 600 and then 700, then 1,000, then 10,000. That's our goal. We want to spread the word to as many people as we possibly can. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And I want to get into this because, well, I don't know if I can, because it requires some audio. And I don't know that we'll be able to do that, unfortunately, which is quite annoying, frankly. Because I can hear the audio in my headset, but you guys can't. Anyway, well, I'm just going to show you this, and you'll get the gist, because it's obvious. It is obvious. This right here is Reverend Robin Bartlett of Sterling, Massachusetts. And as you can see, she's in a church pulpit. You can see this image of Jesus Christ in a halo, but there's also the pride flag, or whatever iteration this flag is. This is satanic, because in this sermon, in this clip that I was going to play for you, but you won't be able to hear it, she brags about taking her 11-year-old son to a drag show with her fellow church leader and her son, I believe. She says, and I'm going to quote this because you won't be able to hear it, but she says, "I take my 11-year-old son to drag shows because I want him to see that bodies are good and can be adorned and played with, especially if you're a man." Wow. because every young man, every young boy needs front row exposure to men dressed in some sexualized caricature of women in fishnet stockings and high heels. And that's supposed to be of God as far as she's concerned. It's obviously not. In this sermon, she quotes John 1:14, the word became flesh. He didn't become flesh to affirm the sin of drag queens. He became flesh to redeem us from this madness. She what did she say? She said bodies can be adorned and played with. But 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 tells us that your body is a temple. It's not a plaything. 1 Timothy 2:9 and 10 talks about modesty, how it's still a virtue. Modesty is not oppression. Celebrating bodies. No, let's get this chick off the screen. Celebrating bodies by putting your son in front of these ridiculous sexually confused men dressed like demonic cartoon characters is not parenting. It's abuse. It's spiritual negligence. Deuteronomy 22:5 talked about cross-dressing. Talks about how men are not supposed to be in women's clothes and vice versa. God called that detestable. But slap a rainbow on it and call it holy, at least according to Robin Bartlett. Not even going to call her reverend, because what she's preaching is not the gospel. Gender rebellion is not brave. Gender rebellion is rebellion against God. And it's exactly what Paul said would happen in Romans 1:26 and 27, when people reject truth and give in to their fleshly, lustful desires. And let's be perfectly clear. Jesus had a very direct message for people who lead children into sin. It would be better for them if they had a millstone around their neck and dropped into the sea. Taking your child to a drag show because you want to show them how to play with bodies? Are you serious? You're saying this from a pulpit? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? So much. It's a ticket to judgment. She's leading her people straight to hell. Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. This is satanic. This is demonic. And this is what happens. This is what happens when churches trade scripture for the God of self. This is exactly what happens. This is dangerous. this is dangerous. And if you find yourself in a church that adorns its pulpit with a rainbow flag and has preachers in the pulpit talking this nonsense, leave. Get up and leave, because that is not of God. This is not gospel. Jesus did not die so you could take your kid to a drag show and have them put money in the drag queen's G-string. No. He died so you repent from this nonsense. All right, I'm running out of time. I'm probably going to end up going over. And we're actually considering possibly going to 90 minutes because there's just always so much to get into and so little time to get into it. But there's a couple of things I really want to get into. So we will probably run a little over. Actually, you know what? Probably not. Only because one of these things I want to get into has audio involved, and I want to try and fix that issue before we get into it. So hopefully we'll have that resolved for next time. But this last thing I want to get into, and we're going to have time to get into it completely, is apparently the left wants to redefine death. And why do I say that? Because there's a whole industry around organ donation, and apparently something has been going on for quite some time where, well, according to this guy who or these people who wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, donor organs are too rare. We need a new definition of death. Where do you even begin with that? Well, say what you will about Bobby Kennedy. We know he's not a staunch conservative, but as far as what he's doing at HHS, I think he is doing an outstanding job. HHS just found that our transplant system is broken. And people may have been alive when surgeons showed up to harvest their organs. So, according to these people, if we just redefine what death is, we can have many more organs available to transplant into other people. He says, actually, I think let's take a look at this. Death is not simply a biological fact. It is also a social choice. What? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Basically, he wants to grade death on a curve. If your life is inconvenient for someone who needs one of your organs, well then we'll just fudge a little paperwork and call it a day. Call it a life for you so that somebody else can get your organs. So under RFK Jr.'s HHS, he has launched some major reform because a study found that 73 patients had neurological activity when the harvest doctors showed up. And what does that mean? Some were blinking, some were crying, some were moving. And despite those indicators of life, they took their organs anyway and killed them. And 28 may have been completely alive, like not just neurological activity, but alive. But their life, again, was inconvenient. And so they took their organs. Congress called it fit for a horror movie, but the monster was wearing scrubs and wielding a scalpel. And of course, getting paid. So the United Network for Organ Sharing has been the organization that has coordinated organ donation, and they've been doing it for 40 years. And Robert Kennedy's plan is to break it up and bid it out, because they were behaving like a cartel. And we all know how well cartels work out. And so there's going to be an oversight office, a public dashboard for transparency. And RFK Jr. says he wants to restore the sacred trust in this process. Now, despite all of this, despite all of RFK's progress and reforms that he's making, I'm now in a new state. I'm taking that organ donation thing off my license, because when you're an organ donor and you're in the hospital and for whatever reason they think you're dead, or they think there's no chance that you will recover, in most cases, your family has absolutely no say. Because you're an organ donor, they can come and take those organs, and your family can't do anything about it. Now, for Christians, when something like that happens, when a family member is in the hospital and there's, according to the doctors, little chance for recovery, Christians believe that miracles happen. We believe that God can heal these people. And anything that you do that takes that possibility away, i.e. killing them, that's not what God wants. So I'm not telling you that as a Christian you should not be an organ donor. That's on you. That's between you and God. I'm telling you that I'm taking that off my license. I'm not doing it. Because if I'm ever in that situation, and I have been not in that situation, but I have been very ill, and I was healed by God. And so if I'm ever in that type of situation, my faith is that I will be healed by God, or I will go home to meet him. Either way, I'm good. But I'm not putting my life in the hands of those doctors, those ghouls who just want your organ so that they can get their performance bonus. Not me. Not me. Despite all of this, it's going to take a lot more for a lot of people to have any confidence in our organ transplant system. I think this op-ed that this guy and his colleagues wrote set set the whole thing back decades, if it even can ever recover. Because I think a lot of people are going to say nope. They're going to take that off their license. They're going to put in their wills that they will not have their organs donated. And I'm okay with that. All right, y'all. That's all I got for you this time. I was going to talk about some Second Amendment stuff, but I need some sound for that, so I'll have that for you next time. But I will try to keep making each episode better than the last, including audio. But if anything that I said hits home, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this video with everyone that you know. I'm not just here to opine into the abyss. I want to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. And if you want some cool gear, head over to missionreadymen.com, hit Shop 7 Armors, and check out all the great designs that we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.